And with that, I welcome you into Coach's Corner, a good place on the internet to get your good sports takes in and listen to someone refreshing about the whole world of sports. Busy weekend, a lot to get into. NFL draft, NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs. That went off the rails there with the Bruins losing to the Florida Panthers. That's right, the historic Bruins who blew through the regular season, couldn't, have less of a care in the world, decided to, lose in the first round and kind of screw up the whole NHL playoffs. But, the NHL playoffs I've kind of openly been a very big advocate for as the best sports playoffs out there. No matter what. Like, not maybe not the best sport, but the best playoffs, for sure. So, with that being said, we'll get into NBA playoffs a little bit later, kind of an update on those. But I feel like we have to start with the draft. And I released the LK League notes on Friday at lksportstalk.com. And I had some thoughts about the first round. I thought overall, I thought there were some good picks here and there. Nothing too shocking, nothing too, out of the ordinary. But then you have a team kind of like the Detroit Lions who kind of decided to kind of go their own route with the draft. And it just kind of threw off everyone, I should say. They took a running back, first of all. So I'm saying a lot of things without providing the context. So they were at pick number 6. And they made a decision to trade back once Devin Witherspoon was drafted, and I get that. I think it was a smart decision to trade back, accumulate picks, especially if your guy's not there, because it gets a little tricky at that point. And so it's whatever, but they kind of went their own complete route by taking, like I said, a running back and a linebacker, an off-ball linebacker in the first round. And I'm not going to say it's a big no-no because my own team drafted a running back, but it's a big no-no when the running back that you take is not, basically by all accounts, a top 5 prospect in the entire draft and was largely thought of to go in round 2, although I don't think he would have made it there. That part is pretty obvious. But Jack Campbell was also a linebacker that was not supposed to go in the first round, and I think that was pretty comfortably decided by a lot of people. And when I hear that, their plan was to take Devin Witherspoon at 6 and then take Gibbs at 18. But it feels like they settled for overdrafting a running back that they really liked and were going to take anyway, and then overdrafted another player that they liked but probably didn't want to take him in the first round. It was 2 moves that I thought were kind of just like a switch in a panic kind of way that I don't think that we expected from the Lions, who have been so good during this process of rebuilding with Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes at the helm. So that was an odd decision just in general, because, and it's not like I don't like the players. I like the players. I just don't like the picks, I don't like the positional value. It was very not wise from my point of view. And so, that's kind of is what it is. They kind of just move on with their day and now have to live with that, especially after trading DeAndre Swift. So, and I think Gibbs, like I said, is a very valuable player, but a running back went 12 who isn't Bijan Robinson. So, hard for me to get excited for Lions fans, but other than that, we're going to go through the draft grades right now that I put together myself in my trusty old Word document, the 2023 draft guide, the Lucas Koch of our draft guide. Basically, I formed this early in the year, and I kind of try and keep up with it, do draft profiles as the year goes. And this one, I just decided, I was like, you know what, I'm going to just put the draft grades at the end of this, so that way we can kind of look back at it and laugh whenever I have horrible takes about these guys. So, starting off, the Arizona Cardinals, I have them pulled up here on the left, Arizona Cardinals on the right. I gave them an A-. I thought the Cardinals came to the draft in a fairly predictable manner. I don't know why it was I don't know why it came out basically a week before that the Cardinals were going to go Paris Johnson. Like, it was pretty much decided. Kyler Murray apparently really likes him, and they were going to trade back from that third spot. And because, I mean, Paris Johnson's a good player, not the number 3 pick good player. So they did that. And I think the genius move here was went up to go get Will Anderson. And they were able to pry the first round pick for next year, from. So I don't know if they'll have 1 and 2 as a lock. I don't know if that's totally set in stone. Just because, you don't know. Maybe CJ Stroud pops off. But either way, they got that pick, got back and got their guy. I think that was also a smart decision. And then BJ Ojulari, who I don't want to say very high on, but I thought was a really solid edge rusher who hasn't reached his full potential. They got him in the round 2. Garrett Williams, I think, is a good round 3 pick. Then Michael Wilson, solid guy. I think there was better guys on the board. And I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to act like I know these guys. But I think that I saw that they had good athletic scores. Owen Papui, I think, really did. Clayton Tune was a good player, a good insurance, I guess, for Kyler, who was hurt. So solid picks there. I can't really, fault the Cardinals for that draft. I think they got better, and they accumulated assets that they need because the roster is not good. And so, yeah, I thought it was an overall pretty smart decision by them. Then I move on to my Falcons. I have my Falcons at a B-. I didn't hate what the Falcons did. I didn't. Because a lot of people didn't like the Bijan Robinson pick because there were players on the board that were probably better at more premium positions. But Bijan Robinson is a solid player. His college highlights are incredible. Really, I think, productive player in his time at Texas. And I think he adds a different element for the rush game of Atlanta. And I know it's kind of like a running joke that they're just never going to pass, but I think Bijan Robinson might help with their passing game just as much as he does their run game. Because I think that he provides a good security outlet. He's Tyler Algier is not a receiving back who got 1,000 yards last year for the Falcons. Robinson can be that guy. So I think he provides like a weaponry that he can be the receiving back and the lead back. Bergeron, a tackle who's going to convert to guard. That's always a weird transition, and they already have one of those guys who failed. Zach Harrison never reached his full potential, I think, at Ohio State. Maybe the coaching staff can help him. Clark Phillips, the third. I think this is a very, very sneaky value pick. Really liked them getting him in the 4th round, especially. And DeMarco Helms and Javon Gwynn, they're 7th rounders. Maybe they'll make the team. Maybe they won't. It's kind of hard to say. So, in general, I think it's a fine draft. It's not an exciting one. It's not like outside of the Robinson pick, which at 8 is still not even that exciting. I think there's definitely a world where this works out for the Falcons. We'll see if it does. So, moving on. You know what? I think we're just going to do the NFC today. So, we're just going to go on to the Carolina Panthers. If you want to really study these draft grades and look at them, look what I have for them, feel free to. But I'm just going to do the NFC today. Probably on Wednesday we'll do the AFC. So, Carolina Panthers, I gave it an A. I mean, kind of hard for the Panthers to screw this draft up, given the fact that they had the first pick. And they traded some of their later picks, obviously, to get that, I think. But even then, they still have a pick in every single round. So Bryce Young, 1-1, that was kind of a preconceived notion. A playmaker with the ball, a point guard is what many people compare him to. I think it's accurate. I think he'll be very successful. I'm curious how Frank Reich, elevates him. Because, rookies don't come in like immediately or like best in the league unless they are truly unbelievably special. But it's on the coach to really bring that elevation in play. And I'm wondering what the elevation for Bryce Young will be if Frank Reich can do that. Well, like I said, obviously we'll see. Jonathan Mingo, I think, a receiving room that is very, I guess, inconsistent to look at in Carolina right now with DJ Shark. Who do they have? Laviska Shenault, Adam Thielen. Like, they're guys that aren't really proven to be, like, I guess, healthy, consistent. That they're good receivers, don't get me wrong, but they needed a young boost, I think, to really bring out probably the best in Bryce Young moving forward, because I think they're also one-year deals. So Jonathan Mingo here, I think, is a really good pick, just because I think he is kind of that Ole Miss archetype with, like, DK Metcalf and A.J. Brown and, bigger guys that can not afraid to run block, that are solid players. So I like him. DJ Johnson, don't know much about. Chandler Zavala, I liked him a lot. I think he provides a certain toughness to their O-line that could probably just be developed, and he maybe be a starter one day. And Jamie Robinson, a playmaker at safety, I think is a good pick here in the 5th round as well. So moving on to the Chicago Bears. I also have an A, and it's one of those where I feel like it's hard for rebuilding teams to really, like, blow drafts. I mean, a lot of, like, whenever I look at the bad teams, or like most bad teams, is like they have so many picks, they have so much, like, they need to fill, that it's like, how are you not supposed to help yourself with any of these picks? Like, teams that I have contending really, like, are the teams that are not very good, that I think, like, we'll get to the 49ers later, who have my worst draft grade, but it's like they have picks in the 3rd round, and those guys, are hard to project and don't seem very good. And it's like, these guys are all top-end talent here at the top. Of course, these guys are going to get higher draft grades. And the Bears, once again, they traded back with one pick with the Eagles. They got Darnell Wright, tackle out of Tennessee, and I don't love Darnell Wright. Like, he wasn't one of my, I think he was 4th offensive tackle on my, like, rankings, personal rankings, and I don't even dislike him. It's just, I think the other guys were better, but I still think that he's really solid, a good pass protector. We'll see how he translates, because he's coming from, I don't want to call it a Mickey Mouse offense, but a very unconventional offense. We'll see if that translates in the skill set. He's a very physical guy, but, I mean, helping Justin Fields out, it's hard to be mad at that. Javon Dexter here in the 2nd round I thought was a reach. He's very raw. But Zach Pickens here in the 2nd round as well. It's from South Carolina. I think that's a good pick. They're building up the trenches on the D-line. I really do think that's a smart decision. Tyreek Stevenson, who was at Georgia for a year, I don't know if he got better at Miami or not. I didn't really watch him like that. But, it's one of those, like, if he kind of comes back to, like, the guy that he was, like, highly recruited to be, then that's probably a steal for them, and, adds to an already pretty young secondary that can be better. Roschon Johnson, I think he was the compliment back to Bijan Robinson. I thought he was very solid. I really liked him. I think I had him as my 4th running back. So I thought he provided, like, a good thunder to Bijan Robinson's lightning. And I think he comes in and provides a different style than Khalil Herbert for the Bears. And I'm not sure if they have another running back, like, on the roster that they signed, but do they have Dante Foreman? So it's one of those, like, he doesn't have to come in and produce, but he might be able to overtake Foreman at some point. And then Tyler Scott is a good athlete on the edge, like, for Justin Fields. More of a smaller guy. Noah Sewell, absolute athlete. I think he's a good Roquan Smith, I don't want to say replacement, but a good player that maybe can fill a role similar to Roquan. And then some guys in the 5th and 7th round, probably decent players. I can't really project them, but yeah, I think they came away with a really solid draft. A lot of offensive help and defensive line help, which is what they needed. So Bears will go to the Cowboys. I gave them a B-. I wasn't overly blown away by their draft, but I thought they got interesting players here and there. Like Mozzie Smith, I like Mozzie Smith. I think they got him at 26 was a good value pick. I had him projected there. It made kind of too much sense for me. Luke Schoonmaker, I feel like there were better options on the board for them. but Schoonmaker's probably a better like blocker and receiver tight end, and Dalton Schultz just left, so that's a need, fills a need. DeMarvion Overshown from Texas was a very athletic linebacker. I like him, very raw talent. We'll see what they got for him. Villami Fehoko Jr. from San Jose State. I don't know him that much. The cool story they had was Deuce Vaughn. Deuce Vaughn is a super small running back from Kansas State, and his dad is actually a scout for the Cowboys, and he got to call him and tell him congratulations. So I thought that was a really awesome moment there, and I liked that. It's one of those, I'm not, like I said, not blown away by their draft, but it's one of those, I understand some of the directions they went, and if they like those guys, I mean, Cowboys have drafted well, so kind of have to trust them a little bit. Then we get to the Lions, and the Lions I have a C for. And, I started off the show with them because I feel like they were the big talk of the town about, regarding the draft and their head-scratching decisions. But it's not even one of those, like, I hate the players. Like I said earlier, I like Jahmyr Gibbs. I think he's a good receiving back. I think he has higher upside than DeAndre Swift has shown to this point. And, they traded him away for a fourth rounder. And, yeah, I mean, I think he's a good player, but 12 is high. Jack Campbell, I think, is a very strong athlete, a very Iowa-type player. Like, I don't know if there's a player that fits how his school plays better than Jack Campbell. And I had him in the late first round, I think, or early second. And he just moves up a ton of spots that he probably shouldn't have because off-ball linebacker. But then Sam Laporta, I really like Sam Laporta. Iowa tight ends pop in the NFL. That's what Laporta is. And I felt like he was a much better receiver than I initially went into thinking he was. But I like him a lot. Brian Branch falling to the second round to pick 45. I thought that was a steal by them. Curious what position he plays. Is a weird, could play corner maybe, but I like them getting him there. Hendon Hooker is an interesting one because he still needs some time to recover from his ACL injury. Are they going to move on to Jared Goff sooner than later? Interesting. And then some other picks I can't speak to, but Anthony Green, a good slot receiver. Like it's just one of those. It's a very head-scratching draft from a team that feels like they've nailed almost all the picks under the Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes regime. So I don't know. We'll see how this one goes for them. Moving on to the Packers. I have a B for them, and it's one of those. I think this was going to be a hard draft for the Packers to screw up, honestly. Early on, I didn't love the Lucas Van Ness pick at 13. I thought it was a bit pricey, but I think they could maybe use an edge that could develop into something. I mean, it's a swing that I think is fair for the Packers to make. I mean, if they're bad, then he has just a year of development, and maybe he's better next year, and you have a pretty mean defense already. Then the second pick was Luke Musgrave, which tight end was a need big time. They watched their guy Robert Tonyan walk out the door. Jaden Reed, a wide receiver from Michigan State, a playmaker but a tad on the smaller size. I like him. He had a good Senior Bowl, I think. A good player. I like him a lot. And Tucker Kraft in the third round, I really like that. They doubled up on tight end, which is interesting to say the least. Because we're curious if are they going to do the two tight end system offense where it just they two tight end the world to death. But either way, you got a linebacker from Auburn. Sean Clifford was a stupid pick. Sean Clifford is not an NFL quarterback. He's like a prime XFL, USFL quarterback. I'm sorry, Sean, but I watched so much Sean Clifford in college that I got so sick of it. I was worried he was going to take another COVID year, find some weird year to find his way back into Penn State. But Dontavian Wicks was a good playmaker in the ACC for Virginia. Carl Brooks at Bowling Green. A couple guys you see from those very smaller conferences But like Carl Brooks, I think was a really good pick from one of those small conferences. Then they got Dylan Carlson's brother, who actually kind of stunk. But Iowa State safety Anthony Johnson Jr., I think he went pretty far down, and I think that was a good pick. So highs and lows for the Packers, but for the most part, I do like what they did. I can't be too hard on them. Next, we have the Los Angeles Rams. I gave them a B-. A very hard draft to really grade because, they didn't have a first-round pick once again. But Steve Avila in the second round, early second round, I think is a great pick. I think, offensive line was obviously a struggle last year, and I still don't even think they're that good. But getting Avila, who was people kind of thought maybe could go late in the first round, getting him here in the early second, I think is a really solid move from them. Byron Young, edge from Tennessee, I think he's a good edge rusher. They need to replace some production there. I think they cut Leonard Floyd. Kobe Turner, a D tackle, that's a good pick. Then they drafted old Stetson. They drafted Stetson Bennett in the 4th round. I think this is about probably as good a situation as Stetson Bennett can get. Going in, just backing up Matthew Stafford. John Wolford, I don't know if he's still there, but Stetson Bennett plays very similar to him. So, it's not like he's can't, do something in the system. I really do think this is a good spot for him. And then I like what they did here towards the middle part of their draft. They had 4 fifth-round picks. Nick Hampton, a solid edge rusher. Warren McClendon, a raw offensive tackle. Davis Allen, another probably a two-way tight end. Puka Naka from BYU, who's a solid player. They drafted Zach Evans in the 6th round, who is a very raw type of running back. So they did a lot of their work in the lower rounds because that's where they had all their picks. But either way, I do think that they did some good work, and I do kind of like their draft, but I don't think they're going to be immediate impact guys. So it's hard for me to give them any better than a B-. Minnesota Vikings. I have the Minnesota Vikings at a B. I thought it was a not great, but a not bad draft. I think Jordan Addison actually pairs very well with Justin Jefferson. It's a smart idea because relying on KJ Osborne and the rest of that receiving core is kind of tough to really sell anyone on. But if Jordan Addison is a decent player, at least a starter, like a good starter, I think it's a good draft pick here at 23. Mekhi Blackman from cornerback from USC. I don't know if that's a good pick because USC's defense was awful, but they doubled up on it. They went Jay Ward from LSU, and LSU corners are normally good. Jacqueline Roy from LSU as well. And Jaron Hall in the 5th round, quarterback from BYU. Now, I'm not a big believer in BYU quarterbacks after what we've seen from Zach Wilson, but Jaron Hall here is a weird mix of athleticism and good arm that I think it's a good swing for Kirk Cousins. He's going into his last year. A good swing on a quarterback here in the 5th round. Then moving on to the New Orleans Saints. New Orleans, I gave a C+. That's right. And this wasn't even me being a hater. I wasn't trying to hate on the New Orleans Aints. I wasn't, and as a Falcons fan. But either way, Brian Brees, D-tackle from Clemson. I felt like they had more pressing needs than the defensive tackle, but one of their starters just left. And, Brees is fine. He's fine. Isaiah Foskey, he's fine. I don't love him. I think he's pretty raw, but, that's okay. Running back Kendre Miller. I don't want to say it's the beginning of the end for Alvin Kamara, but there's kind of, it's been floated out that they're not, I guess, super happy with Alvin. Just, he's got like a thing in Las Vegas legal-wise and getting up there in age as a running back, and I like Miller, I do, but interesting pick there. They went guard. Obviously they needed a guard. I think their offensive line was not very good last year, kind of injury-riddled. Jake Hayner was an interesting swing for the fourth round with Derek Carr. They have him, and Hayner will be the backup to Derek Carr. A.T. Perry from Wake Forest. I think this was a very sneaky pick here in the 6th round that I do really like, because I think he's a big, tall, lanky receiver, pretty raw talent-wise, but I mean, if they can get him going, I think he could be a good weapon. Next, the New York Giants. I give them an A-. I thought they had a pretty good draft, especially value-wise. Deonte Banks is a fine cornerback in the 1st round. He was kind of projected that this range. It doesn't hurt to help, get that secondary room going. John Michael Schmitz is a very solid center. I think maybe the best center in this class. We'll see. I don't know. I can't think of anyone else off the top of my head. Jalen Hyatt. I thought I loved this pick during the draft, but when I looked at their depth chart, I saw receivers that I thought were just very similar to Jalen Hyatt. Like Wan'Dale Robinson, I thought was very similar. Like Sterling Shepard when he gets healthy, maybe, but I don't know if he should be out for a while. But you know what I'm saying? Like they have players that I think, I think they have guys that probably fit in like the same way Jalen and Hyatt would. So I don't know how much run he's going to get early on, but it will be curious to see how they handle him. Eric Gray, Oklahoma. I think that's a good running back pick. And yeah, I mean, that's the Giants. I mean, it was hard to be mad about their draft. I feel like they just made a group of solid choices. Philadelphia Eagles, A+. I thought they murdered the draft. I really do. I thought the Eagles absolutely killed the draft. Jalen Carter at 9 is a steal when it comes to talent, talent-wise. Nolan Smith, a super athletic guy who on the edge was kind of moving up the draft boards. Thought he'd go as early as 8. They get him here at 30. I think there were questions about his pass rush moves. I don't think they're super impressive, but his athleticism alone, boost him up. Similar to Trayvon Walker, but Trayvon Walker won last year. Tyler Steen, sure, fine. I don't think he was super awesome in college, but I mean he's not going to be coming in to start. So good development there. Sidney Brown, another safety who I think kind of fell to the 3rd round here, is a great pickup for them. Keely Ringo, who could probably move to the safety and be a really good ball hawk type of defender, but him, even if he stays at corner, is good in his zone. Tanner McKee is, replaces Gardner Minshew as a backup likely, or 3rd string. Either way, 6th round, good pick probably. And Moro Ojomo, a guy who kind of lingered on the draft board. I think his athleticism stuff maybe was in question. I'm not sure. I'm not sure why he fell, but him in the 7th round, almost last pick, I thought that was pretty good value. So A+ for the Eagles. Then we move to the Niners, and this is where I gave them a D. I do not like this Niners draft. They drafted a safety with their 1st pick who is a decent safety. He's fine. They needed to replace some secondary guys. But then they went with Jake Moody, a kicker. And I know Robbie Gould just walked off, but regardless, drafting a kicker in the 3rd round is a bad pick. It's just a bad value pick. If he stinks in the preseason, misses a bunch of kicks there, then you just basically wasted a 3rd round pick. So don't love that. Cameron Latu from Alabama, a fine tight end, but there were better options on the board. I'm pretty sure Darnell Washington was still on the board here. And then a lot of guys who just mainly seem like development guys, and I'm not even sure they're that. I'm not sure a world where a lot of these guys get into rotations and actually stick. Robert Beal is athletic, sure. Braden Will is probably just a blocking tight end, but they already drafted that Cameron Latu. Ronnie Bell, I think, is actually a good pick, though. So I don't get the value there. For a team that could probably just use better, younger depth guys, I don't think they drafted good players. I'm just not crazy about the Niners draft at all. Seattle Seahawks, I gave them an A+. It seemed like a very easy grade for them. I thought they killed this draft. Devin Witherspoon, love him. I think he provides a very unique skill set on the other side of Tariq Woolen. Jackson Smith and Jigba. I think he was the best receiver in this class, and he slots in at his good spot in the slot next to DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. Then you get Derek Hall, who's a good edge rusher who could have gone much higher. Not much higher, but Derek Hall, who was very early on in the second round, a player that a lot of people really liked. Zach Charbonnet was kind of a surprising pick, given the fact they have Kenneth Walker already. But I don't think there's anything wrong with getting a running back who is kind of like a different style. And once Kenneth Walker went down last year, a couple of games, it fell off pretty hard after him because Travis Homer is a good running back, but not a crazy one. Bradford, a good guard, I think, on the inside. Cameron Young, a good guy in the trenches. A lot of guys that I think they drafted kind of the way that I wanted the Niners to draft in the later rounds. I just really like what they did here. Kenny McIntosh is the last pick. I think he's a good receiving back. Could just be a receiver, Then Tampa Bay, I gave a B+ to, who, a lot of people didn't like the Kalijah Kancey pick, but in 19 was around the range where people had him, to the Lions. And for a team that has so many issues, I guess Kancey is a fine pick. Him, I think, is going to line up on the D end. So that's a good idea, I think, for him. He's a little bit undersized for tackle, but still good. Cody Mauch is a mean guy on the offensive tackle spot. And they kind of just they just kind of went defense mostly, and then wide receiver here and there, tight end. I think for a team that's clearly going into a rebuild, it was a good first draft, to go after being the worst team. It's hard to be at pick 19 to nail every single draft pick in a rebuild, but this was a good foundation for going into the year and being not good. So hats off to them for somehow making something out of nothing. And the Commanders, I have a B for them. This is mainly just I like these players, and kind of similar to the Tampa Bay situation. I don't know where you go from here as a team that's basically rebuilding. Emmanuel Forbes, sure, he's a ball hawk. I think this is a little bit of an overdraft here. I think they were, Christian Gonzalez was on the board. We'll talk about him later, but good player, but high pick. They doubled up on corner, so obviously they want to go after that. Then they doubled up on offensive line, which is something they obviously want to improve. KJ Henry is kind of a project at edge from Clemson in the 5th round. Chris Rodriguez, good running back. I think I like his value here in the 6th round. And so, yeah, that kind of is what it is. It's one of those, I can't hate this draft. There's a lot of, it's hard to hate drafts of players that you don't really know that much about. And so I think this is a good place to leave off with the draft talk. We'll do AFC on Wednesday. This would have gone 2 hours probably if I went through the entire draft. But NFC is a good place to leave off there. Real quick NBA playoffs. Nuggets Suns already played. Denver's up 1-0. They kind of just slowly started to pull away from the Suns and just never looked back. I thought they played a great game. We'll see how Phoenix responds, but I just don't know how Phoenix can really match up for 48 minutes against the Nuggets. Knicks. The Heat stole one against the Knicks, but Jimmy Butler's injury puts him into question. So we'll see how that develops. That's kind of a big, swing for them in that game. Philadelphia and Boston are playing right now. You might have noticed I've been looking over. It's 108-107. Boston's up with 3 minutes left. So we'll see how this game ends. But Joel Embiid missing this game, I think, is the big story because, once again, another playoffs where he's just not able to stay healthy. Oh, Marcus Smart just got a big and one. And so I don't know. I don't know what Embiid has to do to stay healthy throughout an entire year. He just can't do it. But it's crazy because he does it for like 75 to 80% of the year. It's just this point in the playoffs, his body just gives out. I don't know. One of the more fascinating careers I think we'll look back on. And the Warriors beat the Kings yesterday because Steph Curry is Steph Curry and scored 50 points. So Warriors-Lakers, this is like the must-see television. It's going to be chaos every game. It's going to be a war between LeBron and Curry fans. kind of like the old days. And this could probably be the last matchup we see of them in the playoffs because, LeBron's not a young man, obviously, and so we'll see how that goes. But, man, I'm looking forward to it. And I'm respect to the Kings, but I don't think the Kings matched up very well with the Lakers, and I don't know how much they could have pushed them. The Warriors, I think, will have a little bit more fight in them, and obviously, I think, it's just a more dynamic team. So, real quick, we'll just watch the end of the Boston-Philadelphia game together to kind of end the pod here. I think it's a good stopping point, but, Wednesday, look out for that stream. Might record a video here afterwards, put that out soonish. Oh, bad shot from Tatum. It was very aggressively contested. He's jogging down now. Get back. James Harden has been the big storyline of this game. He's had an unbelievable game. Just, kind of looking like the old James Harden. That's cool to see, but Tyrese Maxey. Oh, blocked. Man, Tyrese Maxey tried to go in there. Al Horford has made a big play after big play. Every time I kind of look up here. Oh, man, we'll see how this ends. This would be... I don't want to say this is big for Philadelphia's confidence to see that they can compete with Embiid. But I do think it does matter a little bit. But one of those things is also, I think, just how unpredictable... Oh, man, he's flopping. Boston's trying to flop here to get a call here. He had an easy layup. Tyrese Maxey drives in. Oh, to the cup. And one. Oh, I lied. I lied. Oh, I didn't mean to yell there, but good Lord, I think they just called it. What did they call? One guy called a charge, one guy called a block. Oh man, NBA officials have not had a good postseason. It has been topsy-turvy from them. They have not figured out this kind of mix of making it playoff basketball and letting normal calls happen. Oh, they're reviewing it. No, not a review. Every time there's a review in the play, or every time there's just a review at the end of a big game, it takes 5 hours to review it. Also, the NBA making these referees announce the call while staring into our souls, a very weird choice by Adam Silver in the league, but the guy does a lot of weird decisions, so. Oh, I gotta see his feet. You gotta see his feet. Good job to not foul initially there, but... Ooh. This is a big call here because... Oh, I think that's a charge. Because, obviously, the scenario here, 111 Boston, 107 Philly. If they count this, then Philly has a chance for a three-point play with 1:37 left. So that's already this is already the danger zone for Boston here if this counts. But I think this might be a charge. It looked like he got there in time. Or at least he set his feet in time. Well, they're talking it out. This series is going to be so much fun. There's going to be so much hatred in this. Oh, he's talking. He's staring into my soul again, describing the play. The Boston fans don't seem excited. They zoomed in on Tyrese Maxey. This is so hard with no volume. Monty McCutcheon, what happened? Oh, they counted the basket. Oh, man. Oh, an electric finish here. Also, I forgot to introduce this as Lucas. We don't need the bracket anymore. Yeah, shout out Layla here on the big screen. And for all those listening on the podcast, listen. YouTube.com/@CoachesCorner. I'm not going to stop shamelessly plugging my stuff while recording, I'm going to do that. That's just going to happen. And remember, 9 o'clock, Mondays and Wednesdays. It's been consistent. We're coming up. This is week 5 of Coach's Corner being live. It's pretty cool live, I got to say. Last episode, I talked with Jackson, my buddy Jackson Kelly, for almost the whole episode. And, maybe we'll get a guest on Wednesday. I don't know. I got to reach out to people. Oh, Al Horford missed it. Oh, tipped out to Brogdon. Brogdon for 3. Oh, he missed it. Ah, Horford rebound. I think this is a big part of why Embiid is pretty missing there, because that was just Al Horford getting multiple rebounds or multiple, mix-ups in the rebounding scenario there and getting an easy layup. That's kind of why the Sixers need Embiid, is because they're. I don't know if I remember the Sixers having a dependable center like with Embiid on the team. Dwight Howard was like a pest, but I think he kind of got ran off the court when they played the Hawks that one playoff series. So, I don't know. Remember the the Sixers tried to do Al Horford, and that was an awful decision. So I don't know. I don't know what the Sixers need to do. It's just every time they try and get a backup center, it just never works out. Paul Reed is a fine guy. He's smaller, but I don't know. But I don't know. The Sixers are so weird, and they're just such a weirdly built team, and they have like a collection of good players. Maxey, James Harden have been so good this season, and Embiid's been all right. These guys, but I don't know. I don't know what this Philadelphia team does, especially if they don't make it to the conference finals here. This is supposed to be the year, and if they advance, they have either the Knicks or the Heat. The Knicks or Heat. Come on, man. Come on. Two very flawed teams, especially Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson are both questionable for tomorrow's game, so I don't know, man. Harden has the ball. P-ball! Oh! Paul Reed! Oh, he's fouled. See, this is the thing about NBA. The last 2-3 minutes take 100 minutes. Yeah, 100. That's how many. It just kills me. It just kills me how long it takes to finish a game. But Paul Reed at the line, 6 points, 13 rebounds. Productive night. It's just he can't. I don't think he can do it throughout an entire season. It's not obtainable to expect that from him. But yeah, no, I don't know. And we'll see. Well, Philadelphia is also interesting because James Harden might leave. He might just leave. And if, he leaves, then, I don't know the trade market. I don't know who could come in. Damian Lillard, I thought, was going to be traded there before Harden, but they went with Harden. And I don't know. 13 ties, 13 lead changes. It's been a close game. I can't even, it's been pretty close since the third quarter since I've been watching, so. Boston trying to get something cooking here. Marcus Smart, pump fake. Oh, Tatum has to put it. Someone has to put it up. Oh, no. Oh, Brogdon threw the game. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Brogdon threw the ball away. Oh, with 28 seconds left. Oh, my gosh. He just... The shot clock was winding down, and he didn't put up a shot. And Maxey stole the ball. Oh my gosh. Brogdon threw the ball to Tyrese Maxey. A chest pass. That was the perfect chest pass. But oh my gosh. That was one of the best passes I've ever seen from a player to an opposing teammate. I don't know what that was. I don't know. There was not a single thought that was going on there, and I don't know why. Absolutely bonkers. Man, oh my gosh. I can't believe that just happened. Malcolm Brogdon has been so money for the Celtics ball handling wise, and he just I don't know what that was. I have no idea what that was. What the heck? How did that just happen? Philadelphia being on the road here without Embiid getting a win here is just shocking. And I mean, part of the reason why I think is because the Sixers are unpredictable without Embiid. It's pretty simple. Their offensive game plan is post up a bunch of times with Embiid. Oh yeah, foul. Boston inbounded it, immediately kind of fouled Tatum. So, and for those of you still sticking with the pod here, I appreciate it. I really do. Listen to me ramble on about the basketball here. As you know, it's happened. It's already happened for the podcast, folks. Like, you know what happens here. This is my live reaction. Tatum up, bucket. So tied game. So it'll come down to whether they can get a stop. James Harden, the serial playoff choker. Can he get it done here? Georges Niang just checked in. That boy looks cold. No way he's played a single minute in this game. Doc Rivers got to be getting fired here if they lose this game. I don't know who takes over, though. I don't know who. Jay Wright, former Villanova coach? Oh. Okay, here we go, baby. James Harden, 20 seconds. Counting down. PJ Tucker's trying to set the most moving screen ever. Oh, he got the switch. Al Horford. Al Horford trying to stop James Harden. Harden. Oh, he bangs it in. Oh, the three-pointer over Al Horford. Oh, 8 seconds left. Respectfully, stream. If this goes to overtime, I will not subject you guys to overtime. We'll cut it there. But my goodness, what a shot! That was insane. That was an insane shot. That was for someone who's been, like I said, a serial playoff choker. Never really shows up in the big moment. That was an unbelievable show. That was a bonkers shot there. I mean, it's a patent James Harden shot too. That step back three while dribbling back and forth between his legs there. That's a patent Harden move, and to have that happen, that was like a very signature type move that he does so much and so often. It makes it look so easy too. I was curious why the Celtics didn't switch back immediately, because I mean, Harden's taking the shot. He's got 40 plus points here. And Marcus Smart, your defensive player of the year, kind of just drifted to the corner with PJ Tucker. Is Harden going to make that pass to PJ Tucker if they quickly try and do that switch? I don't know. It just baffles me. Oh my goodness. Inbound, Marcus Smart tried to dump it off to Tatum, not able to do it. 4 seconds left. Sixers are going to escape with a win if B-Ball Paul Reed can make this basket. Oh, Tatum just didn't grab it. The pass was there. Tatum just didn't grab the ball. Hey, that was a great pass by Marcus Smart. He had a layup for Jason Tatum, and Tatum just took his hands back. I don't know what he thought there. That was puzzling. Paul Reed drains the first one. Ice in his veins. Oh, man. I know, Layla. Layla just let out a mean groan, if anyone could hear that. Layla, did you think he was going to catch that pass? She said, yes, absolutely. Jason Tatum has to catch that pass. No doubt in my mind. He drained both of them. Marcus Smart's going to put up a three. Of course he misses it. The Sixers steal game one. From the jaws of defeat, they steal the series. The game. Philadelphia up 1-0. Man, unbelievable game. Unbelievable way to end the show. It took a nice, smooth 20 minutes after here to watch some good old playoff basketball. Like I said, if you stuck by with me listening to this show live, I appreciate you. I am your host, Lucas Kochevar. As always, make sure to like, share, subscribe. Tell your friends, family, anyone about Coach's Corner. Live Mondays, Wednesdays, 9 o'clock on the podcast feeds, wherever you can find them. So, until next time, until Wednesday, I appreciate you.